Hi, I'm John Silvestri, editorial advisor to GlobeStreet.com, and I want to welcome you to SIOR Live. And I'm really happy to have SIOR's vice president on the executive committee. But Geoff Kasselman is also running the industrial market for Newmark Grubb Knight Frank. Jeff, thanks for coming with us.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it. You're LEED certified.
I am.
Yet you're an industrial guy. Okay. I think of industrial as rust and dust and it's all messy. How is industrial absorbing sustainability?
Well, in a lot of straightforward ways, some subtle ways, in the totality of the math that goes with it that supports an ROI or a justification or a rationalization of investment, there's not quite as much critical mass for some of the reasons that you've touched on as compared to mixed use or hospitality or hospital or casino, right? These are all 24/7, 365 heavy energy consuming asset classes or types of properties, and industrial isn't always that. But there's energy efficiency and there's environmental sensitivity. Most often we deal in terms of energy efficiency or the ability to reduce it. It can be supply side. It can be demand side. Demand is reducing how much you consume. Supply side is reducing or controlling what you pay for what you consume. So it has nothing to do with consuming less, but everything to do with reducing what you pay or controlling your exposure or your risk to paying too much if you're on an index rate and your rate spikes.
Right.
The polar vortex last year, anybody on an index rate got killed. Okay? In 2 weeks, they paid more than they paid in 2 years combined. Okay? So controlling supply is as important as addressing demand. On the demand side, which is where most people touch it, lighting retrofits, retro-commissioning of HVAC systems, tuning up freezers and coolers for the food and beverage crowd, parking lot lights, Energy Star, gap analysis. What would I have to do to get LEED?
Right.
How far away am I when you score me, and what would I do to make up the gap? Same with Energy Star. So there are a number of really applicable ways for not so much LEED, but energy efficiency to still have root in an industrial environment. Also green roofs. We're just starting to work with a very interesting company out in New York that rents previously unmonetized flat rooftops on industrial buildings and grows.
I've heard about this, yes.
A very interesting group.
Yeah. Finish the sentence, though. It grows. Explain.
They grow organic produce that's consumed locally. It's lightweight. It's hydroponic. They pay for their own tenant improvements, if you will. They build a little farm up there, and they pay a couple bucks a foot to a fill-in-the-blank landlord who was getting nothing for that same space.
For the roof space.
There's so many different ways. Recycling programs, employee engagement, showing tenants and employees how to consume less and how to be smarter about it.
A big part of
Plug load management. Don't leave your computer on when you leave. Turn it off. Little things.
Right.
So there's lots of touch points there.
Let's talk about some of the other changes that have taken place in the industrial market. We've heard a lot, an increasing amount, about reshoring. Talk about what you're seeing on a national basis.
It's a really welcome trend, I want to say.
Yeah.
It's as much nearshoring as reshoring, but the competitive spirit and cost control is all the rage in America and in NAFTA countries. Mexico in particular is experiencing a great deal of benefit from this trend, both in the northern section, the maquiladora plants, where a lot of different things are produced, and in Mexico City, just north of Mexico City, there's tremendous activity. Industrial parks, build-to-suits, institutional investment, sophisticated capital playing there because so many companies have set up shop there. Automotive, manufacturing, parts manufacturing, distribution. It's really incredible. So it's quite a trend.
Where are the geographic hotspots now? As we get out of the recession, as build-to-suits start, coming back online.
Sure.
Where are the best bets being placed?
A couple of things come to mind. There are some obvious Tier 1 markets that thrive, if not, what are you beyond thriving? I'm not sure. The Inland Empire, Greater Los Angeles, the port, continues to really set the pace for industrial America. It really does. Chicago, in its diversified economy, in its robust transportation networks, in its access to critical mass population. They say over 60% of the U.S. population is within a 1 day's trucker's drive, 8 hours.
That's interesting.
Of the Midwest, of Chicago.
Right.
Okay? So if you're trying to reach a lot of people in an instant gratification in a 1 day sort of a trend, you've got to have a significant facility somewhere near Chicago. Okay? That could be Kenosha, Wisconsin. It could be South Bend, Indiana.
Right.
But if you consider all of that metropolitan Chicago, then certainly Chicago. New Jersey, northern New Jersey, northeast Pennsylvania, sort of the same dynamic, servicing all of that critical mass population density up and down the eastern seaboard.
And the Jersey Shore, once they finish, or the Jersey Port, once they finish the bridge, it's going to just explode.
Miami is a very active market, different dynamics there, right? So it's a launching off point to Latin America, and the first place that imports from Latin America come to. Okay, there's a real scarcity of space there and very high rents as a result of that. Even some of the slower markets that a year ago I would have given you a different answer, Atlanta has suddenly caught up to the rest of the United States economy in terms of a return to industrial robustness. Phoenix is starting to come out of its slumber, okay? Detroit has some hit or miss pockets, but the good pockets there are ready to explode. Nobody's built anything new in Detroit other than occasional build-to-suits, but nobody's built spec in Detroit. I don't know, 12 years, 15 years?
Right, yeah.
Nothing. And the market's starved for it. I think it's a very interesting opportunity for somebody. Indianapolis is very hot. Reno, Tesla's now putting their new giga battery plant there. There's a rush of suppliers shopping for space in a market that doesn't have that much speculative or inventory space.
Right.
And again, a very hot market. So just a couple of ideas that come to mind.
So you're pretty optimistic for the midterm future, long-range future?
Listen, there's always the what-ifs.
Always.
Right? We'd all rather not think about the types of calamities that could disrupt an economy.
Right.
Short of those, I think 15 could be one of the record years for industrial, and maybe for some other asset classes too, but certainly for industrial. We're feeling pretty good about coming out of the economic recession and getting back on track, and all the trends are improving, and things are perking up for almost everybody in every sense, but we're not back yet to where we were in 2007, 2006, but we're headed that way. The question is, will we get there or will we surpass it? I'd like to be conservative in my projections.
Either choice is good.
But it wouldn't surprise me if we surpassed it in the next 18 months.
It'll be interesting to circle back with you next year and see where we are.
Barring that disruption factor, of course.
Of course, as always. In the meantime, it's always a pleasure.
John, thank you so much.
Thank you
Great
so
questions.
much. And I want to thank you for joining us on Globe Street TV.